So Ned, your time with the Dodgers, how many years as GM?
9 seasons as general manager. I've been with the organization now 16.
Yeah. So I'm sure you have a lot of Dodger memories from that time.
Tremendous memories. Probably my first memory is the day I was hired as a GM after 25 years of working in baseball, and the trials and tribulations and the sacrifices you make to get to that point. To come here and to be able to represent and lead an organization that's one of the best in the world of professional sport, not just in LA or not just in California or in the United States, but professionally because of their social stands and how they help everybody they can and the success of the franchise. That's probably my highlight. Few games here and there. Juan Uribe beating the Braves with a late home run in the 8th inning in the NLDS in 2013, and then Jonathan Braxton striking out Alfonso Soriano on a 1-2 slider. I don't remember much detail, obviously, to win the 2008 first round against the Cubs, the team I grew up following and where I really kind of learned the game. So that was cool.
Whenever we talk, I'm always amazed by your recollection of detail. It's pretty fantastic. Obviously, you wrote a book sharing some of the stories from over the years. I also love the fact that you went from the Cubs, the Giants, the Dodgers. You picked good teams and good cities and good ballparks. What was special, though, about your time with the Dodgers?
I think there's baseball teams, there's great baseball teams, and then there's iconic teams and franchises. And that's what this one really is. You talk about the first black player, Jackie Robinson, back in Brooklyn. You know, they took a stand. They changed the world. Jackie Robinson changed the world. To sit in the seat that the GM sat in that made that decision. Remarkable to me. Branch Rickey, that I would be sitting in the same seat that Branch Rickey, figuratively, not literally, sat in. To me, it's still like, it stuns me that I had that opportunity. But it's just special. There's just a uniqueness about the Dodgers. When you talk about the Dodgers, people know no matter what part of the world you're in, they know what you're talking about. They know the team, the franchise, and many of them know the social history of it.
Now, given your personal relationship to the organization and the time that you've spent in LA and making your own imprint on the team, what did this 2020 championship mean to you?
Well, people ask me that all the time, and it's almost like they expect me to be sad or sour that it didn't happen during my watch, so to speak. But that's not how I am. I take great joy in people celebrating and people having joy. And a lot of that team I've known since they were 18 years old. Clayton Kershaw, 18 years old. Kenley might have been 18 or 19 years old when I first came here. Cody Bellinger, 18 years old. Corey Seager, on and on. Jock Peterson, who was part of it. All these players that have come and gone that you like to see them have success, and you like to see it for the people who work there, and most of all for the fan base. You're talking about fans at 55,000 people on a nightly basis, going through what they went through last year, everybody with the pandemic, and then to have a chance to win the Fall Classic. I mean, it brought tears to my eyes. It was beautiful.
What was it like when you were watching that game, watching the final out?
It was surreal. I was doing the Dodgers post-game show, getting ready to do that, and it was just surreal for me. I have 2 adult children. They counted up that I had worked 14,360 days in baseball before I finally got a World Series ring. I mean, when there's only 365 days in a year, and you've gotten 14,360 behind you, that's a lot of time, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of missing out on life. But again, it's kind of the exclamation point to my 40 years in the game.
Sacrifice.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize what goes on behind the scenes. I mean, you can see it if you look at a baseball calendar,
right?
But it's 24/7.
It's relentless because there's only 30 jobs in the world that run Major League Baseball like a GM will do. So you're in a very, very select company. So you have that responsibility, you have that accountability. You cannot take days off. You cannot take an hour off. You're constantly thinking about it. Many times I would find a time to have dinner with friends, and I'd be on my phone every 10 minutes figuring out this, figuring out that. It's many days, crisis management to keep everything going in the right direction. Because the pace is relentless. You play 162 games in 183 days. And when you're on the West Coast, most of those 21 days when you don't have a game, you're flying east. So you are never really apart. You're always trying to figure something out, and you know the other 29 teams are all doing the same thing.
It's a grind.
Yes.
Give me a good Tommy Lasorda story, because everybody has them. Everybody smiles when I say his name, and everybody says, I don't know which ones I have that are safe for TV.
Yeah, I've got a few of those, but I had remarkable times with Tommy, both when I was with the Cubs and I was with the Giants, and then when I came to LA. And I have many great recollections. He helped me get into the Italian American National Sports Hall of Fame. He was the one who called me to tell me that I had going to be inducted into that. That was one of the great honors of my life. He was always very, very kind to my daughter, who worked here for a year, Jenna. And they just had this great affection for each other, and that's who he was in so many ways. But there were times, boy, he could make you laugh, and he could make you step back a little bit. I had a great Frank Sinatra meeting one time, and told Tommy about it, and he didn't like the punchline, even though it was accurate, about where Frank Sinatra's actual childhood loyalties for baseball teams lied. It wasn't in Dodger blue, and Tommy couldn't believe it. And when I told him, the look on his face was like, I wish I could have taken those words back, because he was not a happy man. I was just telling him a story, but just a remarkable man who was really the face of the franchise. I went through airport security once with him where he didn't have his ID. But the people knew who he was, trusted who he was, and looked the other way as he went through hotels, airport security. I don't know anybody who could ever do that.
Oh, I bet he could get away with a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And Tommy was, you mentioned his relationship with Jenna and the affection that they had for each other. Another Dodger legend that people adore from afar, but you knew up close, and up close, Vin Scully.
Vin Scully, outside of my parents, might be the best person I've ever met. We know him as a broadcaster. We know him as the most iconic baseball broadcaster in the history of media and broadcasting of the sport. But to know him as a gentleman, he is a true gentleman. And I have many Vin stories, both, again, my times at the Cubs and the Giants, but also working here and sitting with him on flights and having dinner with him and Billy DeLury, the great traveling secretary and confidant to both of us. Just remarkable stories, and two quick ones. He and my daughter Jenna were also very close. And when I told him that she was going to get married in Chicago, he said, not that I was going to get invited, but I wish I could do something. And he thought about it. A couple of days later, he came back. He says, I have an idea. I don't want to be presumptuous that you would want me to announce the wedding party on tape, but if you want me to, I would love to give that to her as a gift. And I said, oh my goodness. And he did. And to have the people at the wedding suddenly hear Vin Scully come over the loudspeaker with the all-star introduction for the wedding party, and have him say everybody's name. Unforgettable.
Yeah.
And then even this past year, he auctioned off many personal items that meant a lot to him. And I asked him on a network show, I said, hey, was there any one thing that really was tough for you to part with, that really was a change in life for you? And he says, yeah, my golf clubs. He said, I played golf all over the world. Those golf clubs were with me and my wife Sandy in Asia, and at St. Andrews, Augusta, all these wonderful places. And when they put them on the truck, he said, I shed a tear. So I took note. And when the auction came up, I kept bidding until I ended up with those golf clubs. And I called him shortly thereafter, and I says, hey, you remember you told me about those golf clubs and how much it meant to you and how sad it was to part with them? He says, yeah. I said, would it help you if you knew that who had them? And he goes, yeah, maybe. I said, would it make you feel a little bit better if you knew I had them? And he says, that does make me feel a lot better. So it's one of the great honors. I've been so blessed beyond measure in my life and my career to be able to come where I come from, growing up in a remodeled garage in Chicago and struggling to make ends meet with my wonderful parents and my brother, to have the life I've had and to have the people that I've gotten a chance to know and to be part of baseball for as many years as I have.
By the way, those golf clubs are left-handed.
They are left-handed, so I also said they're not going to ruin my game because I'm right-handed.
Yeah, they're not going to help you, but you know what? It's a really sweet memento, and
Yeah.
I love that story. You are always so introspective when you look back on your career, and also very humble, because you did come from very humble beginnings, growing up and living in the garage in a suburb of Chicago, and then, getting the opportunity to work with the Cubs in PR. You followed this dream of yours, and I just think it's so amazing for people that are coming from a humble beginning and want to dream big. What would you say to people to get them through?
I would tell them, be relentless in your integrity and also in your efforts. You're going to have to be patient because nothing just happens, and to be courageous enough to work and to work and to work, and to hope somebody along the line will notice. And if it's a worthy endeavor and it's a true endeavor and a good endeavor, don't ever let people tell you can't, because you can. And I'm a wonderful example. God's blessed me a million ways, including with the perseverance to never take no for an answer. And I've had so much disappointment, and I use my disappointment as momentum to get better. Mm-hmm. And I just continue to do that, even at this stage of my career.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, you talk about being relentless. I mean, Ned, you could be sitting poolside, enjoying life and maybe listening to a game on television if you wanted to.
Yep.
But you're still working in baseball, broadcasting a pre and post game with the Dodgers. Yep. You are teaching at Pepperdine, so you're using your wealth of knowledge to help the younger generation maybe follow in similar footsteps. And you're also working in hockey, which I think people would be so fascinated to learn.
Yeah, it's my second sport love, hockey, and I've known a lot of people in my career, and nobody will give anybody a job because you're their friend. They give you an opportunity because they believe they can help you. So I've been working with the San Jose Sharks now for 3 seasons. I love it. I love evaluating players and helping an organization get better and helping some of their young people get better at their careers, because I've seen so much, and I can be a little bit of a sounding board for them, a little bit of a personal GPS. The Pepperdine experience is something that just is amazing to me. Mm-hmm. I could not get into a 4-year school after high school. My grades were so poor. I didn't know how to prepare. I didn't know how to learn. And at a university like Pepperdine that is so good, both academically, spiritually, and really what they believe in, that they would come to me and ask me to teach there. I said, do you know who you're asking to teach? I mean, I couldn't, you wouldn't let me get by. A school like that wouldn't let me stop at the bookstore to buy a t-shirt when I was getting out of high school, let alone come there and teach. And I've been there for 5 years now. And it may be the best thing I've ever done professionally. As great as the baseball career has been, it's been phenomenal. And the chance to work in hockey, the chance to teach at a great university with wonderful people, both faculty, administration, and the students, and try and help people out and give them maybe one dash of wisdom that they can take with them and have a better life because of it, and help people. And while I teach sports, I also teach 3 different concepts that I tell them about all the time.
What's that?
I tell them that I put 3 words on the board the first day of class: mm-hmm. kindness, gratitude, and grace. And I said, they may or may not be part of the sports business as you see it, but they're a good part of life. And if you can practice kindness, you can exhibit gratitude, and you can offer grace, your life will be better, and those around you will also be better.
Over the years, you've accumulated countless stories that are always entertaining, and you remember and recall them with such great detail. You're this incredible storyteller, but some people are into memorabilia. Over the years, is there any certain memorabilia that you've collected that's pretty special to you?
I haven't really been a big collector, although I've come across different things from time to time. Probably 2 things. One is Vin's golf clubs, because of knowing Vin and his my affection for the person, But going back to the hockey situation. There was a tremendous arena and franchise in Montreal, Quebec. The Montreal Canadiens played at the Montreal Forum. They closed the Montreal Forum maybe 20-some years ago. When I was a young executive with the Cubs, I was walking down St. Catherine Street, which is like the big street in Montreal, and I walk into this clothes store, and I don't have any money, and I'm just kind of wasting time, and the salesperson, French-Canadian gentleman, starts a conversation with me, and he says, "You're not from here." I said, "No, I'm from Chicago." And he says, what brings you here? I said, "Well, I'm here with the Chicago Cubs. We're playing the Expos." And he goes, "Oh, do you have any free tickets?" I said, "Sure, you got any free suits, you know?" And we started this friendship. So 35 years go by, and have gone by. But about 20 years ago, I go back up there with the Giants. I would always buy my clothes here. This jacket right here is from my buddy Andre Ouellette. And I went back in there, and he says, "I have something for you." And I figured it was a sweater collection or something, 'cause I used to buy a lot of sweaters up there, and he'd hold them until summertime. He takes me into the back of the shop, and he has a chair from the Montreal Forum that the person who owns the franchise that he works at had season tickets, and they gave that person two seats. And he says, "I'm going to keep one, but I've got 1,000 friends. I'll make 999 enemies. What am I going to do with this extra chair?" And my buddy Andre says, "I've got the guy that will be honored to have that chair." So that is probably the one piece of sports art or whatever memorabilia that I cherish because of where it came from, my passion for hockey, but also the way somebody thought of me and did what they did on my behalf.
It's always about the relationships.
Yes.
When you look back on your time in professional sports, what is it that stands out to you? Because you did make a tremendous sacrifice, you know, with your personal life, your family. It's a grind, as we said. But what did baseball give you?